G'day and welcome back. I've just dragged out this Nordmende radio. I did this early 2020 and it came up really nice. Now, if you saw it, you'll know it didn't have a speaker. It was missing some valves. Some other things were missing as well, and the case was a mess. One thing that was outstanding when I left it was this cloth, which I had tried to clean, but it was unsuccessful. It, like the rest of the radio, was stained with nicotine, and when the radio's playing, the speaker pumps the air through the cloth here and you can smell the nicotine. It's awful. Now, after I posted this video, someone in the comments said, you can get new cloth from a lady in the Netherlands. Now, her name is Corinne Maas, M-A-A-S. I'll put a link in the description. You type in what your model number is, or you search it, and she'll have a cloth that matches it or was made to look like it. Now, I've got to say, this doesn't quite look 100% like the original, but it certainly looks better than the original. Now, she hand weaves all these things, so this is a handmade piece of cloth. If you need a bit of cloth for your European radio, have a look. She might have it. And if you live in Europe, it's probably not that expensive, effectively. If you saw the original video, you remember this case was pretty badly marked. It had dark stains through it and bits of missing and cracked. It had some heat damage at the back there. So I stripped it back and refinished it, and golly, it's impressive. I'm not pumping up my own tyres, but it really came out well. I was very impressed with this. So this has been sitting on a shelf for a little while, and I'd forgotten how well this finish had come up, and I don't use the F word very often, but it's fantastic. I think the top is just an automotive clear coat. Gee, it's like glass. Yeah, fantastic. Anyway, enough of that. Now, apart from changing the cloth, it developed another problem pretty much as soon as I'd finished the video. The problem was with the medium band. If it was running, it would just stop. Everything would keep going. The lights and everything were on, but there'd be no sound. So you could select back to FM and go to medium wave, it'd come back. So I assumed it was something wrong with the switch. I pulled it all apart. I couldn't find anything wrong. It worked flawlessly on the bench, and I put it back in the case, and it's back again. So something, by mounting it, putting the screws in, perhaps is pulling on something and changing its connection. I don't know. So I'll show you what it does. I'll just put it on FM. There's a bit of NXS on FM. I'll put it to medium wave. Yeah, there it is. So it came on for that split second, that's it. Now if I tap that, hit the case. Yeah, so something's open circuit there. So I need to address that. It's not the switch. I'll take off the back cover and the bottom cover and just see if I can find anything before I remove it from the case. I've taken the back off. It's still on medium wave up the front there, and the first thing I see is this mixer converter valve. It's not sitting in a socket, so that may well be the problem. I will wobble it around and we'll see if the AM is restored. No, it's not. Okay. Damn. Yeah, so the problem's somewhere else. I'll just take the bottom cover off. I didn't get that far. Alright, let's have a look around. First I'll just check the valves. This is the FM valve, so that's not going to work. The set's powered up, and it's selected to a station. Now, it's going to be up this end because the FM works, so there's a switch over between the FM's module here and the AM. So it could be in that switch. If I tap the chassis, it'll come good. Well, it'll make a noise. So I've just got to go around. There's the selector there. That's the switch. It's not doing anything switch wise. Alright, so I'll just go around and wobble everything. So I said it should be up this end somewhere. What's that thing? That's a can.
Leave at the same time as the eventual winner.
Really?
when you guys get to wear the latest jersey in the Grand Tour in their career, you know, and yeah, for me to do it in my third Grand Tour was something.
This yellow wire here is the wire I'm playing with, and it's causing it to connect and disconnect, and it's an unusual looking wire. Now the radio's on again, so I'll just move it again.
For you, Victoria, after they won the NRL Premiership, which is another great SMS, and the Victorian teams did well over the course of this year, and the sporting capital in season 2020. And
so if I move that around, I can get the radio to come on. There's one there next to it.
he was Olympic.
I'm not 100% sure that's the wire that's doing it. And here's where it's connecting, so it could be that switch contact in there actually. If I'm able to... No, it's not doing it now. Hang on. Let's go back the other side. There it is.
Looking at the possibility.
Yeah, it's probably that switch contact maybe. I thought it may be the contact, but it's only doing it when I move the wire. So I wonder if that's a bad solder. I'll resolder that and see if that fixes it. I was going to desolder and resolder it, but I can't get anything in there to desolder it, and I don't want to heat it with solder wick. So I'll just try adding some solder, which is not necessarily the right way to do it. No, that's warmed up, there's no sound, so the radio's on and it should be working. Doesn't seem to be that switch, does it? Because I can hit those and nothing's happening.
Great to hear you on National Grid. Thanks for your time.
Now cycling those piano switches seems to have cleared it. I can't get the problem to come back. I've turned the volume down. I'm pretty confident it's actually these switch connections. I cleaned these when I did the radio, but you can't pull it apart. All you can do is put some deoxit in there, I think I put in. So I'll give them another spray, see how it goes over the course, and hopefully that won't reoccur. I've sprayed that and exercised it a bit, and now it's quite stable. I can't. There's no suggestion that it's breaking up. All right, I'll move on to the next bit. I'll just have to monitor that and see how it goes. I've taken this out of the case. I've set it down, turned it on, and the fault came back on that AM band. So now, of course, it's still there. I didn't think I'd fixed it. I was waiting for it to come back. Now this time, instead of prodding around and trying to find false leads, I'll just go and do a bit of experimenting. It's clearly something to do with the mixer valve. So it's either supply, is the oscillator stopped working, or is the supply cut to the valve? Is it the valve? I don't have a spare valve, so I can't test the valve. But I don't think it is, because it's responding to tapping on the chassis, and I can tap the valve and nothing happens. So what I've done is set my oscilloscope up. I'll just put the oscilloscope on pin 7 here, which is the oscillator. There we go. So if I tune that, what are we on there? 1038. So if I tune that, now the sound stopped because I've affected the oscillator and I probably moved the tuning. So that's the oscillator. That's working. Now, actually I'll tune in a station. It's no good, it's a song. Alright, I'll just put the sound back on and I'll induce the problem again. Alright, the problem's there. Oops. I can't get it to go completely off, but the oscillator's still running with the fault condition, so it's not the oscillator. Now the grid for this valve is pin 1, so that's it here, so I can put it on here. And I'll tune in a station, assuming it's working. No, it's not working. Hang on. There we go. Let's see if I can get one without a song on it. I've waited till the song's finished. There's her voice there, so if I induce the fault, Let's see if it goes away. There it goes. Ah, there it is. Okay, so we're losing the signal to the grid. Here's the mixer converter. It's an ECH81. Now here's the grid. I think I said earlier it was pin 1. It's pin 2. Here's a capacitor in here. I don't think it's a component. Here's a switch here, so it could be in here. This switches from the FM module into the AM section. It comes down here, into here, and this is the medium wave loop stick antenna. That's the long wave one. So the signal from the antenna is coming through here, bypasses this long wave antenna via this switch, through this medium wave loop stick, and off to the grid. Here's the trimmer for the tuning capacitor. Here's the trimmer for the oscillator. Now these two trimmers are located on the little phenolic board on the bottom there, so I can find those. So with my oscilloscope I could probably find this point here somewhere and just see if the signal stops here. Then I'll know it's either this way or that way. I'll just go and find these two little trimming coils on the board and try and find this point here. The radio's working at the moment. These are the two tuner coils here prior to going to the valve. So, if anything was off, it would be here. Now that's making a noise. It's not getting rid of it. Yeah.
The route and the layout and how to get back more quickly. I think all that is
it's doing exactly what it did yesterday when I was playing over here. So, what's the tie-in?
Since the solar system formed, that's more than 4,500 million years.
It's changing now. Now it's got less signal. So something to do with here somewhere, I think. Let me follow that white wire and see if. Yeah, nothing else is doing it. Yeah. Yeah, look at that. Okay, let me follow that white wire. I've traced that wire and it's coming up to the loop stick antenna here, the little Bakelite connection there, and you won't believe it. Look at that solder joint. It's not even connected. I can move that wire, I think. Yeah, look, it's just moving around. So, I feel quite stupid. That's just sitting there in plain sight. Now, of course, you tend to concentrate underneath the chassis, I guess, but gosh, that's the problem. I've turned the radio off to turn it over, but that'll be it, for sure. In fact, I'll check it. So I'll just tune a station in again. I lost it. There you go. That's it. No, that's not even sitting. It's not even stuck. Alright, so I feel quite stupid. I'll solder that up and we've fixed that bit, I'm sure. Now I've resoldered that. The wire was reluctant to accept any solder, so I cut the wire off and got a fresh bit of wire, and it took it on quite well. Now when I did this video, in the comments, someone said, I didn't see you change C87. It's an electrolytic capacitor. It's in the, I'm going to call it the discriminator circuit for the FM. I don't think they call it that anymore. But they said you should have changed this capacitor. Now, I tested the capacitor. It was perfect at 4 microfarad. And I didn't have a replacement, so I didn't change it. But they said you should change it, even if it measures properly. It'll give you trouble. Okay. So while I'm here, I'm going to change it. As I said, it's 4 microfarad. Now, all you can get now, of course, is 4.7 or 3.3. I'm going to err to 4.7 and hope that it still works. So I'll see how we go with this. I'll come back later and just try and work out what this circuit is doing. Here's the capacitor here. That's the one I'm going to change. Here's the capacitor I'm going to use to replace it. It's rated at 50 volts. That should be plenty of room for voltage-wise anyway. Now to get to this capacitor, I can remove this plate here. It's just held on with some tabs. I've moved the tabs out of the way, so that'll give me a bit of clearance to be able to get in there and solder a new one in. I'll do that and come back. There's the capacitor fitted. Now I'm going to have to realign the later stages of the FM. I'll probably just do the lot. Just for fun, I've measured the old capacitor and it's coming up at 5.54. It should be 4 microfarad. So that would indicate that this capacitor is faulty, so I should have changed it initially. Here's the circuit of the demodulator, the FM demodulator. This is the capacitor I just replaced there. This dotted line represents the can that holds the IF transformers. Here's the AM section here, so there's an adjuster there and there. That's the two top ones on the can. Here's the FM adjusters here. That's the two lower ones. The AM section down here is just typical AM IF. There's a detector there and the secondary, primary signals down there. This part here gets rid of the carrier wave. This section here then is the FM demodulator. It's got an adjustment for the primary and the secondary. I don't understand clearly how this works, so I'm not going to say too much. The signal is induced into this secondary coil here. One half goes off to the top, one half goes off the bottom. There's a center tap with a third coil, and I'm not 100% sure what that does, whether it's a choke like an RF trap. I don't really understand that, but that is carrying off the FM signal we want. The signal in the secondary here goes off and goes through a diode. The bottom part goes through a diode as well. The diodes are opposite each other. This will be negative, so that's a negative signal on that side. This side will be the positive half of the signal, and this positive half is grounded. So that's going to be at 0 volts. That'll be at some negative voltage, which means you've got to be careful which way you orientate this electrolytic cap, because this rail is negative. The negative side needs to go on this side, and the positive goes to ground. Because I've replaced this capacitor, I need to balance this demodulator again, and that's done using the slug in this secondary on this coil here. The German instructions for aligning this radio say to inject a 10.7 megahertz signal unmodulated into the radio, and then read it here on this ratio tab that's on the back of the radio. I'll look at that in a minute. And you do that to adjust the primary here and the other two IFs further up. To adjust the secondary coil here, you put an AM modulated signal in at 10.7 megahertz, and you adjust this to allow the minimum AM modulation through the circuit. Alright, I'll go and do that now. I'm all set up to do the FM alignment. I'm just using an arbitrary waveform generator here. It's set to 10.7 megahertz. I've put a wire between the FM valve and its shield, and I'll use that to inject the 10.7 megahertz. Here's the adjustments for the FM. These two top ones are AM, so the two bottom ones here are FM. There's another one down here, and there's also one up the top here. I've got my VTMM connected, and this is being fed from this ratio tag here. Conveniently hangs out the back of the radio. Now the instructions say to detune this one, so I'll just move it away, and this one here. So it just says to move them away from their current position. It then says to adjust this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this last one here is a different adjustment, and that will be to the secondary of the discriminator. Now this one here, I've actually taken the grub screw out and I've put a bit of rubber band in there because it was too loose. So just looking at the VTMM, we can't hear anything because it's all being done with voltages. So just keeping an eye on the VTMM, we should be able to tune this in. There it goes. I put it roughly back where it was. Yeah, very roughly. Look at it. Wow. Oh, there we are. Right, it's just there. Okay. Now I've got to do this. I think that was about right. Now apparently I've got to do number one. This trimmer's not going to work, this trimmer tool. So I'll use this longer one. Now I'm not sure. Oh, look at that. Wow. That's screwed in an awful long way. I'm going to screw it out, just see if it comes back. And I would say, there it is. There it is. Wow, okay. Alright, that's done. Now the next thing is this one here, which I think is 5. Now I've run out of room there. I might have to drop the... Oh no, we're just there. So that one's okay. Alright. Now I've forgotten to do number 2, so hang on, I'll just go and do that one. I just ran the amplitude back on the generator so I can adjust this now. So I thought we were right on it. Okay, perfect. Now this last one here, I need to put a modulated AM signal on here, and adjust that so it blocks that signal. I've switched over to this old generator here. It's on 10.7. I'll put the modulation on. Now just put a new bit of rubber band in there. I tried to adjust it, but it was too loose, so it was moving when I took the screwdriver away. So I'm going to adjust that, and hopefully I'm just going to listen to it. It's no good reading the voltage, that'll stay the same. What we're trying to do is kill off the AM signal getting through. I reckon that's about as good as you'll get. Alright, I'm happy with that. I'm leaving it. I'm going to adjust the dial position. There's the FM marker. If you can see it, there's a little cutout there. That's 86.7. And I've got 86.7 here on this big generator. I've got modulation turned off. Now this adjustment here is supposed to peak that signal there at 86.7. So I'll just see where we are. Yeah, it's not too far off, is it? Alright, well, I'll leave that there. That seems to be right. I'm just winding the dial up here. It says to go to 100.5. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's there. I don't know. I've got the generator set to 100.5 or 0.48. That's close enough. And the adjustment for that is this thing, and it's got a big thing. I'm just going to use a screwdriver. I'm not sure if that's going to make any difference. And that's about it. So that means the dial's set for length. It wasn't out at all. Now the next thing that says to do is align this at 88, the FM. So I'll put it on there. And I've got to use this adjustment to peak it. Alright, I've put that back where it was. Now the next instruction says to put it on 98 there. Now to adjust it we use this. I won't use my big screwdriver. Maybe it was having an effect, I'm not sure before. So I'll just adjust this. Yeah, I think that was right. So I don't think I've adjusted any of that as far as the dial's concerned. I'll go back and do them all again. I won't do it on camera, and just make sure that they haven't changed, but because I didn't move them, the chances are they haven't moved anyway. Now I've taken all the gear off. I'll just see if I can find my station. Have to get it off there. I haven't got a dipole aerial on this. This is just coming off the AM antenna, so I can't get any other stations in here. Yeah, there's just vague stations there. But just going back to the station that's local and it's coming through strong. Now, what used to happen was when you were dead on with that magic eye at maximum, it was slightly distorted, and that meant that that discriminator wasn't properly aligned. Now when it's on maximum, it's very clear, so there must have been a bit of a misadjustment there. Anyway, I'm happy with that. I've got to move on to the fabric on the front of the speaker, and we'll put it all back together. To do the speaker cloth, I've got to take this board out. So there's some screws and little clips here I've got to take off, so give me a minute, I'll take all those out and we'll have a look at the board. There's the board removed. I've taken the speaker off as well. I've got to take that stylized Elektra badge off there. Now I did say originally that this didn't really look a whole lot like that, and I could see the pattern, but the colours are all wrong. Here's the nicotine stain coloured cloth. Here's a bit that was covered up, and that'll be its original colour. And there's the bit that I got off Corinne. So she's copied that pretty well. Yeah, good. Now the replacement cloth's been in an envelope and folded over, so I've got to iron that flat. And I'll take this out in the workshop, peel it off and glue the new one on. Alright, I'll strip this cloth off. Now hopefully this will come off in one piece without me having to scrape the shards off. Yeah, that's not too bad. The smell of the nicotine in this cloth is awful. I'll just clean that up a bit and get it ready to put the new cloth on. I've got the air conditioner and fan running, so there's probably a bit of background noise, but it's getting pretty warm over here. I've cleaned all this up, and I just gave it a very light coat of black paint just to bring back the black in it. It had some light areas on it. What I'm thinking of doing is doing it in stages. I thought maybe I'll just glue one corner here, then I can put that down. There's a straight edge along here on the board, and there's a straight edge on this bit of cloth. So if I can line that up there, then I can stretch it, spray the rest of it, and glue it down. Then I'll spray back here and just pull it all square, and hopefully it'll come out nice and tight. That's what I'm hoping. Right, so I'm going to line this edging up with the edge of the timber here, so it will actually fold over like that, and I'll just glue that down. Alright, now just spray along here. Just lining up the pattern with the edge of this board. That looks pretty good. Alright, that bit's dried off. It's nice and straight at the moment. Now I'm just going to spray the rest of it. I'm very nervous. I'm almost shaking. So just trying to keep it square. I think I've got it pretty good, and then get enough tension on it and pull this way, that way. Alright, I'm happy with that. I'm going to let it sit for a while, and then I'll come back. I've got to glue it around the edges, and we should be done. Okay, that's dried on pretty well now. I've got to go around, cut it in, and just fold it around the edges. So I'll do all that. I'll use the same spray to go around the edges, push it all in. Corinne said to be careful because it will unravel if you cut it. So she said to make sure you glue it or put some tape on it or something. So I shall do that, and I'll come back when it's all done. There it is. I've done all the edges, and yeah, it's come up pretty good. What I will do is run around with some clear nail polish just to make sure there's no threads come off. It doesn't matter. It's just something that I do. Now what I didn't show was what I was using. This is Sally's Quick Grip, and I like this one because it's just thick enough. It's not too thick, not too thin. It puts a good layer on without just being globby. Quite happy with that. And I only spray one side. I just spray the wood. You lay the cloth on it, and it lets you take it up and down and rearrange it a bit. For about 20 minutes you've probably got, and even after that you push it down and it sticks again. So quite good, that stuff. Now around the edges I sprayed both surfaces so that it has a much stronger bond. Alright, well I'll head inside and I'll remount this in the case. Right, back inside, I've got to put this Elektra badge back on. There's some holes in the back. I've just got to bring them through to the front. There's one. Okay. I think I'll just bend them with my finger. Okay, good. All right, speaker on. All right, I think I can put that back in the case now. Let's try this in here. I've opened up a couple of holes there. I've just used a Phillips screwdriver to do it. I haven't cut the fabric. That one's kind of healed up again. There you go. There we go. I've got to fit a nut here and down here. There's a bracket here which I've left out in my workshop. I'll go and get them. and a couple of pins to go through here. So I'll do that and come back, we'll flip it over and see what it looks like. There you go, all back together. It looks terrific. This new cloth just lifts it. The old one dragged it down, it looked glum, it looked old. This has just lifted it back to what it was 60 odd years ago. I'm sorry for the interruption. Something happened to this radio after I finished the video you're watching, so I thought I'd just insert it here and I'll show you what went wrong. I put the radio out in the kitchen and showed my wife, and she said, "Oh, that's fantastic. How do you work it?" I said, "It's simple. If you want to listen to medium wave, push that button." Nothing happened. Push that button, nothing happened. So I pushed off, and it comes on for a split second and then goes off again. So something's wrong with the power switch in there. I'll have to go and see what it looks like and how it works. I'll see if I can fix it. I've taken the chassis out of the case, and there's the little switch there. Now, it looks like a normal toggle switch. There's the little arm that you would normally operate with your finger, but it looks like it's made out of metal. I'll just push a key to get it to actuate. If I turn it off, it pushes it over again. So, yeah, very simple. Alright, I'll see if I can pull the switch out. Yeah, just looking at it now, it's got a nut on the bottom there. I need to undo the nut. I can't twist the switch because the toggle is captive in that fork there. So somehow I've got to get in there and undo that nut. But I'll have to try and come up with something there. I need to give myself a bit more room, so I can take this little switch pack out. I've got some mini multi-grips here. I'm just going to see if I can lean over the switch and undo the nut. I just need to loosen the top one, then I should be able to undo the bottom one. The danger here is I could break the switch by trying to do this. Oh, there it goes. There we go. Yay. Alright, let's try it. Clicking alright. Alright, I've got the meter on there. We'll see what it does. Oh. Yeah, look at that. That's exactly what it was doing in the radio. The switch has two phenolic boards in there, and if I move them around, you can get them to work. So I spent a good deal of time weighing up my options with this switch. It's got two rivet, like flat plate rivet things here that hold it on. I can grind them off and I could pull the switch apart. I could probably spray something in there, which means I wasted my time pulling the whole thing out. But it's virtually gone to the stage now it doesn't work. If I spray it, that may last 12 months and we'll be back where we started if it even works at all. So I'm inclined to pull it apart. I'll give it a spray, see what happens. Now I've been working that for about a minute and it's come good. So I've got zero resistance in there now, and yeah, open. So maybe I'll just cut my losses and leave it like that. I'll let it soak for a bit longer, perhaps give it another spray. Then I'll have to go and put it all back together again. I've got the switch mounted in again. And I've just made a little tool here to be able to do the nut up. It's only a bit of aluminium, so it's not terribly strong, but it should be enough. There you go. Beautiful. Okay. Just checking the adjustment, making sure it's getting a full throw. So if I turn it off, yeah, it's slack in there. So yeah, that's working very well. Good. Okay. I've connected the meter. We'll see how it goes. Off, on, off. Yeah. Okay. I'll connect the wires back on. I've got to mount this switch block back on, and I'll put it back in the case. We'll check it out. Alright, it's all back together again, and we'll just check it. It'll work, I'm sure. Yep, okay. I just can't believe that that worked without any trouble, and then I put it back in the case, and a day later it won't work at all. Anyway, I guess that's what happens with old equipment. I normally would pull the switch apart and clean it properly. I've cleaned it with the Dissolve it this time. I'm not confident that it's going to last forever. I can see myself pulling it apart in 6 months' time and going through the whole procedure again. In the meantime, I'll return you to the original video and we'll pick up where I left off. Oh, we better make sure this works, I guess. I'll put it on medium wave. I have to put an aerial on. So I'll put it on medium wave.
Bushfire, probably not unlike what has just been.
Will and Gather green slopes after a minor crash near Cornwall Street. Peak conditions on the Gateway motorway from Deagon right through to the Bruce Highway. Now it's been heavy around the border this afternoon on the Gold Coast, the M1.
Alright, that's working okay. Now giving it a whack to make sure. I'll just check the FM. I have to change the antenna over. See how the FM works. Where is it? Oh, it's on it. I'll turn that off before I get pinged. So that's good. I'm glad that's finished. It's been sitting there for a few months. It was originally going out in our kitchen, but with the cloth and the AM didn't work, so I couldn't do it. So I put it aside till I've had a chance to do all those things, and just as well I left a bit of time because it took longer than I thought. This was supposed to be a 10-minute video catch-up that I add on to the end of another video, but this has taken so long I'm going to release it as a standalone video. I hope you enjoyed watching me bumble around trying to find faults that were staring me in the face. And we did a bit of FM tuning, and the cloth looks good, and the radio looks fantastic. So now it's going in the kitchen for sure, and I think we'll enjoy listening to this. I hope you can join me for my next radio adventure.